Parts of algebraic expressions. So we're going to look at a couple definitions and then look at a couple examples and learn about parts of algebraic expressions. So first, what is a term? A term is anything that's separated by a plus or a minus, basically. So, for example, 4a plus 5, we have two terms, 4a and 5. If we have three c minus 4, then we have two terms again, this and this. If we add in a plus 6, then we have three terms. So this one has three terms, this one has two terms. So a term is just how many things you have that are separated by pluses and minuses. A factor is your key word right here. A factor just means to multiply. So how many things are you multiplying? And so, for example, AB plus DF. First, we have two terms, AB and DF, and then each of these terms has two factors, A and B, and D and F. So, we have two terms, and each of those terms has two factors. So this has two terms, and it has two factors per term. Next, a coefficient. A coefficient is a number in front of a variable. So, for example, 7a, the coefficient is 7. 1/5 b, the coefficient would be 1/5. C over 3, the coefficient, if you put a 1 in front of the c, then your coefficient is simply 1/3. So the coefficient is a number attached to, through multiplication, a variable. Or sometimes it can also be a division, it's just then you have to turn it into a fraction. So this then gives you 1/3 times c equals 1/3. So a coefficient is a number that is attached to a variable. A variable is usually a letter that has a numeric value that can change. And like we see up here, A is a variable, B is a variable, C is a variable. It could be any letter or Greek letter that we use to represent a different number. And a constant is a value that does not change. So, if we have 4c plus 7, 7 is a constant, because 7 is always 7. This, though, will change. Therefore, it's not a constant. So, keywords you have to be aware of. Addition, sum, add, increase, and there are many other words that mean addition, but these are some of your main ones. Oh, plus, more than, subtraction. Some of the key words that you'll see is difference, change, less than, subtract, multiplication. Some of the keywords for multiplication are factor, times, multiply, yes, and then the word product. And division, divide, another personal favorite, quotient, a half, a third, a fourth, and so on and so forth. And so if we look at this, one of the questions you might be asked is, how many factors are there? Well, you're multiplying this term, these terms here, to these terms here. So we have two things that are being multiplied. So this tells us there are two factors, and each of those factors has two terms. We have two things that are being multiplied, and there are two terms for each one. So another thing that you could have then is this time we have two things we're adding, so that means we have two terms. And each of those are variables, and each of these are variables. When you have variables next to each other like that, that means you're multiplying. So each of those two terms has three factors. Two terms, and each one has three factors. And so now if we have this, we have several things we could say. We have a constant of 5, because the 5 is a number all by itself and it does not change. Variables are E and A. Our quotient is E over 2. And then we have a summation of E over 2 plus 4C plus 5. So they may ask you to put these in based on it, like what's one of the variables. Oh, and our variable is not E and A, it's E and C. And these are different parts of algebraic expressions. If you have questions, see me on Monday and Friday from 1 to 3, or ask during class. Thank you and have a nice day.